Hello, Lindsay here. I'm a member of the Hot House Acting Company at the Wilma Theater here in Philadelphia. Um, like so many of my friends and artists, we're out of work right now. A lot of our projects got shut down. Uh, no large groups, but we totally understand. We got to do this. It hurts to work on a show, and for over a month, and then all of a sudden you can't share it with anybody. Right now, I would have been in a performance of Othello over at the Lantern Theater, also here in Philadelphia, and it was a really special project. We've been this is the third time I've got to do Othello, and uh, I got to look at the part in a different light, more nuanced uh, analysis of what was going on, particularly for Othello. So I was thinking about maybe sharing a little bit of this show with you all. Um, uh, One of the things, one of the monologues that I was thinking about the most was this first monologue when he goes in front of the senators and talks about how Desdemona and him got to know each other and how they fell in love with each other. And it's an incredible moment in the play that often I think gets passed over. So much of the focus on what the turn of Othello's psyche is falls on Iago, and that's certainly true. But I also think there's a lot happening before Iago even starts working. There's he finds himself after they've kind of got married in secret, Desdemona and Othello. They find themselves confronted with Brabantio, who, upon hearing about Desdemona running off with Othello, that all these racial epithets start coming to his mind as conjurations and witchcraft and charms and magic that is just under the surface of his opinion of Othello, which is striking. And I was thinking about that as we were working on it during the course of rehearsals, about how there's this friend who Othello has spent all these evenings telling stories, and Brabantio has entertained him and had dinners together and heard his story over and over again. And the minute he trespasses some type of social norm, all these racial undertones start to bubble up in Brabantio. It really reminds me a lot about what's happening today in society and how something is just underneath the surface until an event happens and people show their true colors. And so I think that works on Othello's psyche. And when he goes in front of after Brabantio confronts him and they go over to the senators and the Duke, because they're preparing for a war with the Turks. Even the senators entertain this idea that Othello probably or might have used some type of magic or charms or foul play to win Desdemona's heart. And I think Desdemona is absolutely the strongest character in the play. She holds to her truth more than anybody else in the show, and Campbell O'Hare was fantastic, and hopefully we get to do it again in another incarnation of the show. But who knows? There's so many question marks in today's times. But I was thinking about this moment of when he talks about their wooing in front of these accusations of witchcraft, and even the senators turn to him and say, "Is it true? Did you do these things?" And I think Othello's taken aback at that point. I think there's vulnerability in who he thought he was and where he was in the world, and I think that opens up a lot of the rest of the play. So after the senators ask him, Othello turns to him and says, "I do beseech you, send for the lady to the sagittary and let her speak of me before her father. If you do find me foul in her report, the trust, the office I do hold of you not only take away, but let your sentence even fall upon my life. Until she come, as truly as to heaven I do confess the vices of my blood. So justly to your grave ears I'll present how I did thrive in this fair lady's love, and she in mine. Her father loved me, oft invited me, still questioned me the story of my life from year to year, the battles, sieges, fortunes that I have passed. I ran it through, even from my boyish days to the very moment he bade me tell it, wherein I spake of most disastrous chances, of moving accidents by flood and field, of hair-breadth escapes in the imminent deadly breach, of being taken by the insolent foe and sold to slavery, of my redemption thence, and portents in my travels history, wherein of Anters vast, deserts idle, rough quarries, rocks, and hills whose heads touch heaven, it was my hint to speak. This to hear would Desdemona seriously incline, but still the house affairs would draw her thence, which ever as she could with haste dispatch, she'll come again, and with a greedy ear devour up my discourse, which I observing, took once a pliant hour, and found good means to draw from her a prayer of earnest heart, that I would all my pilgrimage dilate, whereof by parcels she had something heard, but not intentively. I did consent, and often did beguile her of her tears when I did speak of some distressful stroke that my youth suffered. My story being done, she gave me for my pains a world of sighs. She swore, in faith, 'twas strange, 'twas passing strange, 'twas pitiful, 'twas wondrous pitiful. She wished she had not heard it, yet she wished that heaven had made her such a man. She thanked me, and bade me, if I had a friend that loved her, I should but teach him how to tell my story, and that would woo her. Upon this hint I spake. She loved me for the dangers I had passed, and I loved her that she did pity them. This only is the witchcraft that I have used. Here comes the lady. Let her witness it. So that's it. I love that speech. It's one of my favorites. I've done it for auditions before, but I love that moment in the play. It's a moment of love. It's, I think, the truest essence of who Othello is. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope we get to share theatrical space together, all you people. Stay safe.